Pepper Spider back again in the kitchen with another tasty video for you. Today we are going to be making some cookies. Not just any cookies. They are soft, they are chewy, sweet and buttery matcha cookies. Yes. Recently, I would say maybe about a month or so ago, I discovered matcha. Matcha is a green tea and it makes an absolutely lovely, lovely drink. Now, I am not a professional by any means on the subject, but from what I understand, matcha, it's baby little, green tea leaves that are made into this fabulous drink. And it is a powder form. You don't steep it like a typical black tea. No, you basically mix it with warm, hot water, and you drink it as such. You don't filter it and so forth. But also it has other applications as well. And so I perused and researched and so on and so forth. And so yes, the result is we are going to be making some green tea cookies. They are awesome. And so because I wanted to do it right, I ended up getting some matcha green tea powder. Now previously I had only used, it was sort of like a mix with latte and sweeteners already added in. I wanted to go with, the real deal. Now this is a culinary grade of matcha. There are two essential grades. I know that much. Two grades of matcha. One of them is culinary and the other one is ceremonial. Now, because my palate is not that refined, I decided to go with the culinary because you can get more of it for a cheaper price. If you want it specifically for drinking and you want to have the ultimate experience in drinking it and so forth, yes, go with the ceremonial. I heard it's much better. But for my purposes, we are using the culinary version. Enough of my yammer-yammering. Let's make some cookies. Hello again. Alright, so I believe I have everything that I need. I may have to grab some measuring spoons and whatnot, but I think we are all set to go. Alright, so first things first, you need 2 bowls. My middle-sized bowl is currently being occupied by some sourdough, but we will make do. I'm going to need 2 bowls. The bigger one I'm going to utilize in just a bit. So we're going to start off with 2 3/4 cups of white flour. Just sort of scooch you in there. And yes, I washed my hands. Don't be silly. All right. Okay, so we've got our white flour, and then we need a teaspoon of baking soda. Not baking powder, but baking soda. There is a difference. So, got you, grab my teaspoon. Aha, found you. All right, so 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Try to get you as level as I can. There we go. Okay, and then we come in with the baking powder. And I'm going to need 1/2 of a teaspoon of this one. There we are. And then going to need 2 1/2 teaspoons of matcha green tea powder. Now, this is the brand that I got. It's certified organic matcha tea. Honestly, I did some research and this one looked pretty good. So far, no complaints. So I need, let me just wipe off these really quick. And I will utilize these spoons. All right, so I need 2 1/2 teaspoons. So you see this lovely green color, and it smells absolutely divine, I will say that. So we've got one. And we've got two. And we've got 1/2. Now, you're probably thinking, that's really not that much. Actually, it does produce a lovely green hue to the cookies. It's not, extreme by any means, but it is rather nice. So I'm just going to give this a quick stir. Also, as far as the flavor of the green tea, it's subtle. It's definitely there. You can taste it, but it is not overpowering by any means. And yes, a little does go a long way. For 1 cup of matcha, about 12 ounces, you only need 1/2 of a teaspoon, and it's awesome. I did once make it with a full teaspoon. Honestly, I thought it was a bit much. All right, so this is all set to go. So this is it as far as our dry ingredients. Now, on to the bigger bowl. Here we go. Now let me just get some of these things out of my way because I do not need them. All right, so to the big bowl, we are going to add, let me see, a cup of soft butter. I let it, get nice and soft at room temperature. And we're also going to add 1 1/2 cups of sugar. So we've got our 1 and our 1/2. And we shall do this. Get you out of here. And so, granted, I have seen this countless times in places where you're supposed to use a stand mixer. I hate using a stand mixer. I will be the first to say it. So we've got 1 cup, and we need 1/2 cup. Between the extra cleanup and the noise, I would much rather do this by hand. And I think that they turn out just fine doing it by hand, quite frankly. All right, so we've got that all done and out of the way. Now for the butter. So yes, these I let sit out for a while, so they should be really, really soft. You don't want to melt your butter. You just want it to be super duper soft. There we go. That's 1. And that's a 2. All right. And then the laborious process of stirring this until it is essentially nice and creamy and homogeneous. Obviously, it isn't at the moment. So I'm going to use, against my better judgment, I'm going to use a spurtle here. I do have a spatula, but it has a rather harsh wooden handle. So I'm going to use this little guy, and I'm just going to go to town until it is nicely mixed. So if you want to make these in a hurry, by all means, use a stand mixer. Me, I like doing things the hard way. And yes, I'm sure that some of you are probably shaking your heads, wringing your hands, clutching your pearls. I'm sorry, but this is how I do it. It's already, developing a nice, lighter texture, sort of. It's not fluffy, but, it works. It doesn't resemble a stick of butter anymore. It's sort of like mashed potatoes. That works. All right, so on to the next step. All right, so from here, I'm actually going to start by preheating my oven to 375 degrees because by the time I am ready with my dough, hopefully it'll be ready with the preheat. So 375. All right, got that going on. Now we need to add just a few more ingredients. 1 egg already cracked. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Okay, there it is. There we go. All right. Then I'm going to mix this nice and thoroughly, and then we're going to start to incorporate our dry ingredients. I love me the smell of vanilla. In the morning, in the evening, whenever, I love it. Also, in the comments from the last cooking video that I did, where I made pancakes in the rice cooker, I do have plans already for another recipe, one that I sort of came up with myself. I'm very pleased with it. But I didn't want to do 2 rice cooker recipes back to back. I wanted to mix it up a little bit. So stay tuned for more for those of you that are interested in rice cooker escapades of sorts. All right, so all nice and mixed, very, very lovely. So now we're going to start to incorporate our dry ingredients into the wet, not all at once. Little here, little there. Now also, something that I noticed when I first made this recipe, it looks really dry. Okay, quite true. It does look really dry, but the dough does come together. Okay, so do not fret. Already has a lovely green hue. These, of course, would be great for any tea party because, well, tea, cookies, you know, etc. But also, I've heard this several times that they would be great for St. Patrick's Day. Personally, I think that this color green is much more appealing than Kelly green. If any of you have been watching me for any length of time, you know that green and earth tones are my favorites, but Kelly green, there's just something unnatural about it. I don't know, you tell me. Okay, let's do the rest. There we go. And get the rest of this mixed in and homogenized. Now also, you really don't need to chill this dough. You could if you want to, but honestly, I did not mind how much the cookies spread. They do spread a fair amount, but they don't become paper thin or anything like that. No, it's fine. So yes, as you can see, our dough is coming together nicely. It is a little bit crumbly, but like wet sand, if you compress it, it will stick to itself, so do not worry. All right, we are essentially there. Almost makes me think of like a baby food puree of sorts, you know, pureed broccoli or Brussels sprouts or something, but it certainly does not taste like that, let me tell you. All right, we are essentially all set. Now, from here, I'm going to get my cookie sheet ready and scoot it on over. And now for a little ASMR. Instead of just laying out my parchment paper, I always like to crinkle it first so it will stay put. So if you don't like the sound, cover your ears for the next 5 seconds. Okay, now we get to flatten it out. There, and it's not going to do the whole curly kind of deal. All right, now, got a few more bits that could be mixed in. Other than that, I think we're good. We good? Yeah, I think we're good. All right. Also, if I have the same luck this time that I did last time, the yield is about 40 cookies. I kid you not. I couldn't be more pleased with that because I do love me a good cookie. So, on to the next step. All right, now, what you're going to want to do is have little balls of the dough roughly about 1 inch. Me, I like to use this little scooper. It is such a lifesaver because it ensures that all of my cookies are roughly the same size. And then from here, I just like to give the dough a quick little roll and plop it onto my cookie sheet. And then once I have enough, I like to give them sort of like a palm press so that they're not going to go anywhere. And there you go. Well, the last time I made these, I fit about 20 of these on each sheet. I don't think I'm going to do the same thing this time though, only because they were a little bit crowded because they do have a tendency to spread. So that being said, I think I'm only going to do, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how many I actually managed to get in here, but not as many. Maybe more like 16 instead of 20 per sheet. I think that will do fine. It's going to be 3 rows of 4. That would only be 12 though. Maybe 4 rows of 4. There you go. That'll be 16. Yes, I can math. I love this thing. If you don't have one, I would totally recommend picking one up. Especially if you are not very good at gauging the same size, amounts of dough for any sort of baking project or something. Like me, no, I'm not very good at eyeballing it. And also, not only do they sort of flatten out a little bit as they bake, they also get a lovely sort of crinkly, cracked appearance, which actually I rather like. That also happens as they bake. Another thing that you could do, if you are of a mind to, personally I think that these are sweet enough as is and that they really don't need anything else or extra. However, what you could do is, in this current state, you could then roll this ball in some sugar to really make it into more of a sugar cookie. Honestly, I think that that would be, perhaps overkill. I don't think it would be necessary, but it's an option. Just as it's also an option if you wanted to add in some chocolate chips or some nuts or really whatever. Go ahead, nothing's stopping you. To each their own. Personally, I think if you are going to do nuts, personally, I would recommend maybe almonds. I think that would be rather nice. Or macadamia nuts. I think that also would be nice. Or, okay, if you're using almonds, I would suggest almond slivers. I think that would be lovely. Okay, so I think I might actually leave it at the 12, perhaps. That way they have plenty of room to expand and grow and become fabulous little cookies in their own right. All right, I think that will be good. And just give it a slight palm press on each one. All right, that'll do. All right, so basically just going to follow the exact same process with the rest of my cookies, and, well, we shall continue. Alrighty, and just looking for the button. There we go. Alright, so as irony would have it, as soon as I stopped that clip, it finished preheating. Yes, my oven is ready to go, so I'm going to pop these in. Again, it is 375, and it's going to be for roughly about 10 to 12 minutes-ish, until they are, a slight golden brown. Okay. All right, so I set my timer for 10 minutes, give or take. Of course, it does depend on your own oven. Some run hotter, some run a little bit cooler. Keep an eye on your cookies. I cannot stress that enough until you know definitively, without a shadow of a doubt, how much time it will take for them to be chef's kiss perfect. So I'm going to let them bake, and then when they are ready, I will show you. See you in a few. All right, so it's been about 11 minutes-ish, and I think that they are ready to be taken out. Look at these beauties. So gorgeous. And I'm glad that I gave them more room, because previously they were sort of going, ooh, let's make friends, and they were sort of smushing against each other. So they do have a slightly golden brown hue to them, amongst the green, of course, and they are ready. Now, what I strongly suggest to you is do not touch them, okay? Do not move them from the pan until they have settled down a little bit, because they are, as I said, they are very soft, they are very chewy, and they are very delicious, but they need some time to settle down before putting them onto a cooling rack to completely come down to room temperature, all right? So I've got more cookies to make, so let me just pop the next batch in. It's really amazing how it went from this to this. Little heat, wow, it does wonders. All right, so pop these in for another 11 minutes. There we go. And then I shall have another batch, and then I still have more dough to make more cookies. Thank goodness for small favors. All right, so excusez-moi. So when these are all nice and cool, and I will not burn my face off upon eating them, I will do the tasting, because it is, of course, my favorite part of these videos, and I will see you in just a moment. All right, so now for the favorite part of all these videos, the tasting. Actually, I managed to get 45 out of today's batch. So again, the yield is really good on this recipe, which I am delighted, because these are so good, they will disappear fast. So, got ourselves one of these beauties. So it's got a little bit of a crinkly surface to it, and they spread very, very nicely. And nice and soft, a little bit crispy on the outside, a little bit chewy on the inside. Very, very much in the realm of a sugar cookie, but it has a very nice, subtle flavor of the matcha. Now, either you're a fan of matcha or you're not. You know, if you try these, you'll find out which you are, but I absolutely love these. Mm. Sweet, buttery, a little bit of a crunch, a little bit of a chew, and they are absolutely awesome. And I can definitely foresee that I'm going to be making these again in the near future. This is my second batch in less than a week. So, if you liked today's video, please give a little thumbs up button. You know that I appreciate your appreciation as always. And, excuse me, cookie bits. And, stay tuned for more, because whether I am baking or cooking or doing audiobook narrations or playing games and, of course, crocheting and knitting, there's always, plenty more to come. So hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Apparently there are some weird things going on in YouTube land with the algorithm. So, we do what we can, right? But hey, I post about 3 times weekly, with a little bit of this, that, and the other. And thank you for joining me today. And you know what to do until next time, right? I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated. And yes, there is a little bit of caffeine in these cookies, so don't say I didn't tell you. Stay inspired, stay safe. I'm getting all tongue-tied too. Take care of yourselves and each other, and I will see all of you in my next video. Thank you for joining me, and bye for now.